Welcome to the Digital Enterprise Society podcast, addressing all aspects of the digital enterprise, inspiring connection without boundaries and creation without limits. Thank you for tuning in. Here are your hosts, Thom Singer and Craig Brown.
Hey there, everyone. Guess what? You have just found another episode of the Digital Enterprise Society podcast. I am so excited that I get to host this show, and I'm really excited that you have come along on the journey that we have designed to be a resource for those who work in and around PLM. The Digital Enterprise Society is a forum for the exchange of ideas surrounding the tools, processes, and practices used across the product lifecycle. To learn more, visit digitalenterprisesociety.org. My name is Thom Singer, and I have the honor to co-host this show every single week. And on most weeks, I am joined by my co-host, Craig Brown. Craig is an industry veteran and former PLM leader at General Motors. But once a month, I do these career-specific episodes where it's just me and the guest, so I don't have Craig with me today. I know you're all sad. You're going to say, but Thom, the episodes where you and Craig banter back and forth are so much more fun. How will we know what the weather is in Michigan or Texas? Because Craig and I often compare. When the weather is great in Texas, it's never good in Michigan, and vice versa. So we're recording this in August. So actually, Michigan right now would have much better weather than I have in Texas. Anyway, every single week, we try to bring to this podcast interesting interviews and other ideas that are going to help all of our listeners enhance and grow their careers. And today is certainly one of those shows. I am super excited about the guest that I am bringing to you. Today's guest is Sam Silverstein. And Sam, besides being a friend of mine, Sam is an author, a speaker, and he is the founder of the Accountability Institute and the Certified Accountability Advisor. And what that second part is they are teaching thousands of people how to do what Sam does using the content from his 11 books. The guy has written 11 books, and Sam is the newest inductee into the Speaker Hall of Fame. There is actually a Hall of Fame for people who are professional speakers, and Sam was just inducted a month ago, and I was fortunate enough, I got to be in the audience when his name was announced, and I was on my feet cheering because in addition to being well-deserving of that, Sam is an all-around nice guy. Hey, Sam, welcome to the Digital Enterprise Society podcast.
Hey, Thom, it's great to be here. Thank you for that. And I'm in St. Louis, which is sort of in between Texas and Michigan, and we have perfect weather all the time.
That's what I heard. It's St. Louis and San Diego are the two places that have the best weather.
Yeah.
And
if you believe that, I have a small piece of property for sale that I think you would be interested in.
Is there an arch on it? You want to sell that piece of property?
Oh yeah, we could do that.
So Sam, you have a brand new book out that is called The Theory of Accountability. And I want to get into what is the theory of accountability. But first, can you give us a little bit of background? I know that you actually have a background in manufacturing, so I think that makes you doubly a perfect guest for this audience.
Well, I do have a background in manufacturing, and I was part of a wholesale distribution business, and then I bought into a family-run manufacturing business, and we distributed windows and doors nationwide, and I had many years experience and trials and tribulations of the production, sales, distribution process. And then finally we sold that company to a Fortune 500 company. And I've been writing and speaking ever since.
So how did you get into the writing and speaking world? What led you from, running a manufacturing company to being, I'm going to go out and train people to be better?
Well, one of the things that we did was we worked with our customers, which were home improvement companies. And I would train the salespeople in these companies because I wanted them to be better. I wanted them to be the best that they could be. And I felt that if we made them better, then they would help us be better, that we would all win. And in doing that, I started going to sales training classes to learn how to do what I did better. And I met a gentleman by the name of Tom Hopkins, and we became friends. And I loved what he did. And during lunch one day, he said, Sam, my career took off when I wrote my first book. And so I'm thinking, aha, there's the clue. It's always good to look for those breadcrumbs because it makes it easier to follow the way home. And then, a lot of people were thanking me for the advice I was giving them. And I thought, you know what, if I can have a positive impact without trying, what would happen if I did try? And so I wrote my first book, started speaking.
That's really interesting because no matter what you want to do, one of the best things you can do is find somebody who's successful in that industry and ask them. And Tom Hopkins said, hey, my career got better when I did XYZ. And while for the speaking industry, writing the book was the answer, if somebody's working in a different industry, the answer might be different, but out there is somebody who has the experience. I tell everyone that I talk to, it doesn't matter what you want to succeed in. Get around people who are at the top of the game. They can't help it because success leaves clues. Do you agree?
Exactly. But here's the key to this. You have to believe that those people would be willing to share them with you, or you will not put yourself in that circle or ask those questions. And so it comes down to first believing that successful people are willing to share what's worked for them. And I'm here to tell you they will. And so that's an important barrier to overcome right from the get.
So Sam, accountability is something that we hear a lot. It's one of those buzzwords that pops up, but you have actually taken accountability and you've put a saddle on it and you've ridden it a long way here. You are actually the guy I think about when I think of people who understand in a career and in business and heck, in life. How does accountability help you succeed? So can you define what you mean by accountability?
Well, accountability is keeping your commitments to people. And the challenge we run into is people confuse responsibility and accountability all the time. They say, I'm accountable for that project. I'm accountable to get things cleaned up. No, you're responsible for that project. You're responsible to get the report done. You're responsible to make sure the equipment's running properly. You're responsible for a lot of things. Your job description is a list of responsibilities, but you're accountable to people. And that accountability is keeping your commitments to people. And I'm not talking about the tactical commitments, the ones that are connected to things, doing things, the spoken commitments. I'm really talking about the relational commitments that many times are unspoken, but we as leaders at whatever level we lead in our family, in our business, in our community, that we as leaders need to make and keep if we're going to build accountable relationships.
I love the way you divide the difference between tactical and relational accountability, because it's what I teach when I go out and speak at companies is I talk about the fact that all opportunities in life are going to come from people. And it's so easy in today's business world to put the human equation, to put those human connections, put them on the sidelines because it doesn't necessarily fit on the dashboard. And so we often forget that relational accountability and how important it is. How did you come to realize that this difference was there and that it really mattered?
Well, it's tactical commitments and relational commitments, and it's the relational commitments that equals the accountability. The way we discovered it is simply this. For the last 28 years, involved in case studies, looking at amazing organizations, and we actually developed a workplace cultural assessment tool that not only measures the normal things like employee engagement, but we actually can measure accountability in an organization. And we use all that data to be able to determine where the challenges are, prescribe what needs to be done, and help leaders build workplace culture that inspires accountability. So it's come from not just the writing, but the research behind the writing, working with organizations, helping them improve their workplace culture so that accountability is something that is inspired and it's present in the organization. And when accountability is present, that's when the magic starts. That's when people start to grow. That's when teams come together. They're more cohesive. And that's when you start to get this engagement and productivity that's literally off the charts.
So I love that because I'm thinking back at my own career. I've worked for myself now for 12 years. It's hard to believe. But before that, I worked for a lot of large companies. I worked for law firms. I worked for banks. I worked for accounting firms in the marketing and sales and business development roles. And some of the bosses that I had were really true to this whole idea of accountability, that everyone on the team needs to have it. And other places, there was a lot of little fiefdoms and there was a lot of backbiting and there wasn't that accountability. The better places to work were always the places that were the way you described. And so if someone's leading a team who's listening to this, what are some of the things that they should be doing to make sure that accountability is part of the culture?
Well, there's a whole 5 deep steps in building a powerful, sustainable, positive, people-centric culture that inspires accountability. It starts with every organization has a culture. It's either a culture by design or a culture by default. So the goal is to have a culture by design. A culture by default is anything goes. A culture by design, first of all, you define what you want your culture to be, and you define that through the values of the organization. The next thing is that those values and that culture need to be modeled at all levels throughout the organization, all levels of leadership. Those values need to be taught to everyone. The culture needs to be protected, and that culture needs to be celebrated. And this is a continual process that you have to go through all these steps. And culture becomes something at the most amazing organizations that leaders at the very top determine that culture is important, and they are constantly working on their culture. As a matter of fact, the very best organizations out there, the highest performing organizations, work on their culture as much as they work on their tactics.
So let's talk about your new book, because the theory of accountability, it sort of came to you in the middle of the night. We've talked about this before. So where did the idea for this book come from, and what happened? How did the book come from a spark in the middle of the night to now being your brand new book that you're out there promoting?
Well, the book actually releases in just a couple of weeks. By the time people hear this, I'm sure that it'll be out. But literally at 4:30 in the morning on a Saturday morning, it was as if someone had kneeled down next to my bed and whispered something into my ear. And I heard it at that level. And what I heard was E equals MC squared. Now, I'm like,
was Albert Einstein coming to whisper in your ear?
I'm telling you, I don't know. Now, this is the weirdest thing, because I'm like, E equals MC squared. So we know that's the theory of relativity. And I'm like, okay, fine, but let me go back to sleep. And so for the next 45 minutes, I tried to roll over and go back to sleep, but it just wasn't happening. And finally, I got up and went into my office, and at like 5:15 in the morning, where I have an electronic whiteboard, I powered that thing up, and I just started drawing on there. I started with E equals MC squared, and an hour later, I had a thesis written, and this became the central point for the book, The Theory of Accountability. And I call E equals MC squared the theory of accountability. No disrespect to Albert, who, by the way, happens to be a distant cousin of mine, or so I have been told. But here's the theory: E equals MC squared. And what that stands for is E equals experience, M equals mindset, and C equals commitment. And so what the theory of accountability says is this: if you can clearly define the experience that you want, what do you want your experience to be? What do you want the experience of your organization to be? What do you want the experience of your employees or your team members to be? What do you want the experience of working there? What do you want the experience in your relationship with your spouse or significant other? What do you want the experience to be in the community that you, in any arena, in any aspect of your life? What do you want it to look like? What do you want to experience? If you can define that, if you can gain clarity on what that looks like, what you want, then the two variables that you need to focus on are M, which is mindset, which is basically what do you believe, and C, commitment. So here's the challenge. Your mindset may be working for you or may be working against you. Remember, you asked me the question, we talked about getting with people who are successful, that they leave breadcrumbs, they leave a trail of how to achieve that success. And I said, yeah, that happens all the time. I can't begin to tell you how many people I've talked to that have helped me, and I can't begin to tell you how many people have called me to pick my brain. But a lot of people would never do that. And they would never do that because they believe that successful person won't give them the time of day. And while that might be true some of the time, it's certainly not true all of the time. I don't even think it's true most of the time. And so you either have a limiting belief or you have an empowering belief. What do you believe in any given situation? What you believe is critical. If something is not going right in your life, if something's not going right on the manufacturing floor, there is a belief that is leading to that. And those organizations that go, man, we got to change what we're doing to get a better result, they change what they do. It's a short-term fix, and it goes right back to what it was because they never changed the underlying belief that led to that result. Action follows belief. And so we need to get our beliefs Right. Now, I mentioned beliefs about specific issues. There are 3 specific accountability mindsets that are critical. One is abundance versus scarcity, mindset of abundance versus a mindset of scarcity. One is the mindset of respect versus a mindset of contempt. And the other is a mindset of gratitude versus a mindset of entitlement. And so everything, every positive attribute, way of thinking can be distilled back down to those 3 positive accountable mindsets. A mindset of abundance, a mindset of gratitude, and a mindset of respect.
So, the mindset,
go ahead.
The mindset thing is something that is, again, it's a term that's bantered around a lot, but it's so hard for some people to change because we get stuck in our ruts, if you will, right? My dad always said, don't be stuck in a rut. And we get stuck where we are. And so when you have to change that mindset, because I'm a big fan of the abundance mindset, the respect mindset, and the gratitude mindset, but I haven't always been there. So how do people change if they're stuck maybe in scarcity, or one of the negative ones?
So first of all, you have to notice it. And so I think it's important to really understand what a mindset of abundance looks like. What does a mindset of gratitude look like? What does a mindset of respect really look like? That means studying, learning, doing some research. Very easy to do. Go out and do it. You want to pick up the theory of accountability? You're going to find it in there, but you can Google it and you can be a pro relatively quick. Then the next thing is recognize that we all slip. I mean, there's times when I might not be all in on the mindset of abundance. I might say or do something that doesn't align. And so the key then is to notice that and to catch that and to realign yourself. And if you have a spouse, if you have a friend, if you have someone in your life that you can talk about this with, then it gets even better. I call that an accountability partner. Accountability partner is not a person that makes sure you get your stuff done. That's your responsibility. It has nothing to do with accountability. Get your stuff done. If you can't get your stuff done, then you're taking up someone else's space where they could have a job, they could get the stuff done. So, but having someone that says, Sam, I know gratitude's important to you, and I don't know that you're really showing gratitude for what's coming your way. Someone that you can really have that meaningful conversation. You know, Tom, if you approached me and you said, Sam, you just said something about someone that was kind of disrespectful. And I know you would never want to do that on purpose. And I could either be offended or I could appreciate it. And so, we have a great relationship and I would appreciate that. And that's the only way that I'm going to get better, because I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. No one's perfect.
So Sam, how do people find these accountability partners? Because I'm very fortunate, right? In my speaking career and my career as a speaker and a master of ceremonies for events and as a trainer, I have a mastermind group, and we've been together for 9 years. There's 3 other people in that group who are all speakers. You know all 3 of them. And we have reached a stage in our accountability with each other that we're all like siblings. And like a good siblings will give you a rough time when you deserve it. And so I have a group of people in my life, but it took time to get there, and it took time to build this relationship to where it is now 9 years later. But for the average person who's in a job, who's like, oh, this idea of having someone I can bounce things off of, who will hold me accountable, who will point out when I'm not being, gracious or when I'm not being respectful, where do people even start to get those people in their lives?
Well, it just so happens I wrote a book called The Accountability Circle that addresses just that. However, first of all, I don't want someone holding you accountable. I want someone helping you be accountable. It's an entirely different kind of relationship. And it's about finding someone. This is not this is a life relationship, it's not just a work relationship. It's bigger than the job. And it could be someone that you work with, but it doesn't have to be. And it's about finding someone that aligns with your values, that you can trust, that you can talk to, that you allow them to speak into your life, and that you share with them the idea that you want to be there for each other, that when you share something, I'm not sharing feedback with you, Tom, because I'm trying to make you feel bad or I'm trying to position myself to be better than you. I'm giving you feedback because you've said, Sam, I want this feedback. I want to be the best I can be. And I'm sharing it because I'm coming from a place of love. And when you're sharing with me, you're coming from a place of love. And so if we stop and we think about those individuals, we have people like that in our life. And if we don't, that's okay. But we need to then take the time to seek them out. And then we need to have deep, serious conversations around what it is that we value, conversations around our purpose and our mission. Because when you know my values, my purpose, and my mission, and I know yours, I can help make sure you're staying on track. You can help make sure I'm staying on track. And then it's kind of like, you have someone that's got your back. And if you know someone has your back, you do not have to look over your shoulder. You can move forward full speed ahead. And it's the same way in the manufacturing business. When an employee knows that their leader has their back, then all that employee has to do is work to move forward to get their job done to the best level possible. Same thing.
All right, so we covered mindset, and in the MC square side, the other piece was commitment. But you've got the squared. You've got the squared with that. So we not only have to be committed, we have to be committed squared. What's that all about?
Well, yeah, it's two things, actually. It's commitment is exponential. The reason the 2 is there, it's not x2. It's not multiplied by 2. It's 2. It's to the power of 2. And so what this says is commitment is critical, because you can have the right mindset, but are you committed to that mindset? Are you committed to those activities that you need to be involved in? Are you all in all day, every day? Are you relentless? Because when you're relentlessly committed to the mindset and the activities that will lead you to that experience, that result that you want to achieve, then it happens. But people don't always come forth with the commitment. They just want to, well, let me try it. Let me see what it's like. No, you're either all in or you're not. There is no in between. And it's that commitment that, come rain or shine, is kind of like, I was a marathon runner. I say was because I'm not supposed to run as much. I do other things now, but every morning at 5:30, my running partner was at the end of the driveway, and we would go out and run. And it might be 10 miles, 12 miles, 24 miles. It didn't matter if it was hot, if it was cold, if it was raining. We had a prescribed workout in to get done that day to prepare us for a marathon. It was commitment.
So as people are listening to this, I mean, they're kind of fired up. I know I am. What can they
So
do?
am I.
What can they do to get that commitment? If maybe they're not feeling it, but they want to feel it, what can they do? How do people get commitment to that power?
Go back to the belief. Go back to the experience. What is the experience that you want to achieve? Why do you want to achieve it? Whose life is it going to impact? And look at the importance of that. How's it going to impact your life? How's it going to impact the lives of the people you work with, or the lives of your loved ones? And if you've determined the mindset that you need to have, and you see the impact it's going to have on people, why wouldn't you want to be committed? Why wouldn't you want to be all in? Why wouldn't you want to find ways to make it happen? You see, there's too many people out there that achieve amazing things, and there's too many people out there that don't. I don't believe it's because of circumstance. I don't believe it's because you have something going for you that I don't have going for me. I might not be able to achieve greatness in what you achieve greatness in, because you have a different background, a different skill set. But in what I am supposed to achieve greatness in, I have everything that I need, and I have the ability to get what I need. And it's going to come down to commitment, but that's a choice I have to make.
So the start of E equals MC squared is that experience. And I think all of us, we probably don't vocalize it, but I think when it comes to our jobs, when it comes to our careers, when it comes to the teams we work on, we want to be part of a positive experience. So let's talk about that experience in someone's career. What can someone do to enhance that experience for themselves and their coworkers?
For someone to be a part of a positive experience?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume we all want to have a positive experience, and yet so many of us at work are either blah or we just go through the motions, or in a few cases, people don't like it.
Remember, I said there was tactical commitments and relational commitments. One of the relational commitments is a commitment to lead you to your potential to be your best. And so if you report to me, my responsibility as a leader is to help lead you to that potential to be your best. And so in helping you be your very best, which might mean that you need to be in another department in the organization because there's more opportunity for you there, and you're the kind of person that'll take advantage of it, and I'm going to lose you to that department, but that's what's best for you. in leading people to be their best, I am going to ultimately be my best. And that's going to create an amazing experience for everyone, for you and for me. Now, even if helping you reach your potential means sending you to another company, maybe you need to be in another organization. Someone would say, well, why would you let one of your better people go? Why would you encourage that? Because it's helping them be their best. That's my job as a leader. Now, when everyone sees that you're willing to let go of someone, good, because it's in their best interest, don't you think they know that you have all of their best interests in mind? And if they have the trust and confidence in you that you have their best interests in mind, they don't question your decisions. They're quicker to implement. They don't have to look over their shoulder. They work harder. They don't want to let you down. And it changes everything for everyone in the workplace.
So I love I love all the episodes we do here at the Digital Enterprise Society podcast, but I especially love these career ones because even as the interviewer, I get fired up. And I know because I hear from some of the people who listen, they get fired up because there's a nugget here, a theory there, an idea that they can take and immediately put into practice in their own careers. So as we wrap this up, Sam, what other advice do you have for people who they can put into action right now to make their careers thrive?
Take the time and sit down and think about what your values are. What are your values? What are your values? And they need to connect to 4 specific areas to have a great set of values. And to help you with that, I have a free downloadable values worksheet at valuesworksheet.com. I can't make it any simpler than that. When you take the time to determine what your values are, and then you make sure that every decision connects back to those values, you're going to live life at a different level. You're going to connect with people at a different level, and you'll get a different level of results.
Sam, thank you so much for agreeing to be a guest here on the Digital Enterprise Society podcast. If people want to find out more about you and your company, where do they go?
They can go to samsilverstein.com or the Accountability Institute.com.
Awesome. Well, Sam Silverstein, thank you so much for being here. And thank you to everybody who tuned in and listened. I want each of you to join us here every single week for more thoughts, ideas, and information in and around a career in product lifecycle management. The Digital Enterprise Society is the place for the exchange of ideas around digital manufacturing tools. Go check us out right now at digitalenterprisesociety.org.
You've been listening to the Digital Enterprise Society podcast. Learn more about what you heard here today at digitalenterprisesociety.org. Join us again next week for more connection without boundaries and creation without limits.